Hey, what's going on, guys? Tuesday night, yet again, rock and rolling. Welcome to Outlawed Live. Kind of special edition this week where all of us traveling back from our leadership conference, our leadership team meeting. We've been hanging out here the past couple of days, talking everything and all things outlaw trucking, as well as National Sled Pullers Association out there, our awesome group that we have with us. The farther west of the Mississippi guys out there. Ron Stone is still en route back home from Omaha. So it's just going to be Mike Idle and special guest Kyle Lay going to be joining us representing our NSPA partners. Now, Kyle, doesn't exactly look like you've quite made it back to Central Colorado yet either. How you guys moving along so far?
We're doing well so far. We have about 22 minutes left to our destination at home.
So you are no longer in Central Time then?
No, we are Mountain Time now.
So lucky for you, at least on the trip home. Now I'm home. I can't, I can't sit here and say like I've got it bad, but at least you get to kind of travel backwards in time on your trip home. I mean, at least, you're getting home closer to dinner time because, time travels backwards. Does the time change mess with you? How often do you have to jump back and forth on the time change throughout your summer pulling schedule?
We jump quite often, really, because the farthest we went for the season of 25 would have been Rock Valley, would have been our farthest east hook, but that was just a backup sled, which is still Central Time. So we probably crossed that time zone, I would say, at least 10 times this summer.
So that's one of those things, we spent a lot of time in meetings these past couple of days. We talked about scheduling among several other things. One lucky thing for us right here on the national side of the Outlaws is we don't have to deal with that time change. Now, I think about the divisions out east, NTPA and some of our, cousins out there. They bounce back forth on time zones. NSPA, you guys 10 times back and forth. Is that something you're just used to, or is that ever, do wires get crossed sometimes when you're sitting there trying to figure out what time a start time is?
As a majority, I think our group adapts pretty well. I wouldn't say that the time change is a huge factor that affects us. You just kind of adapt and go with it. Know your geographic location. Now, there's a few in the group that, helpers-wise, they get a little lost, and it's like, it's okay, we'll take good care of you. But for the most part, we adapt well.
Yeah. And one thing I've always wanted to go out there and announce one of your shows. I think it's all worth any of that adaptation. I think it'd be worth the journey just to see some of that territory, just to see some of that country. We were looking at pictures these past couple of days, pictures when we went out to, was it Windsor, Colorado, a couple of years ago. Man, what an awesome place to just be out there pulling. And the pulling scene, I think, out there is bigger than people realize. How do you describe Western Nebraska, Southern Wyoming, Eastern Colorado? What's the pulling scene like out there? Are people, more into it than I think us, Midwesterners would imagine?
It depends, I guess, where you would go. Like the farther east Colorado you go, you would think we get decent crowds. And this year we've actually seen our largest crowds, and it's kind of a hit and miss, I guess. It's interesting year to year, season to season, kind of, you see a flow, like it gets really big, really good, and then you'll go through like a downswell of, you still got a decent crowd, but it's not as big as you'd like. And then you come back to a year like this, and that kind of happens every like 2-3 years, 4 years. This year, though, specifically, we went to Longmont, Colorado, which is just north of Boulder, Colorado. Really, you're north of Denver, maybe 15, 20 minutes. And that crowd there, they had not quite sold out, but they had 2,300 people in the stands.
Great crowd. Great show.
Great show, yes. And the night before, they had a rodeo, and they had 2,500 people. There was 200 people different. But what was unique about that show is we hadn't been to Longmont since 2018. 19, excuse me. So like anywhere, there's a lot of variables that are going to determine the type of a crowd and just kind of what's jiving and going at your pulls.
But I would say big picture, I think there's a lot more pulling happening out there at a much higher level than what people tend to associate. You think of Colorado and, sometimes it can almost be the other California. It's all snowboards and hikes and everything. But I imagine there's quite a bit more of a motorsports scene out there than I think people realize.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's way more out here than I think what most people realize. And it's not by fault by any means. It's just we've kind of been a lost puppy for a long time. And when you think of truck and tractor pulling and then you speak of Colorado, it's like, wow, that really doesn't mix. I mean, you could talk skiing all day long or snowmobiling and people would be all over it. But if you talk truck and tractor pulling, it's starting to come back around. And we actually have decent equipment or iron.
I noticed that. I did one show. I worked with you guys at Palmer, and I was able to take a good hard look at some of the iron that you guys were offering. Unique pullers, really good drivers. I think the driving style of some of your drivers really stands out. That was something I took away from that. But I'm really excited. The energy and professionalism that you and your team bring is, something that's infectious. And it's really been fun to be partnering with the NSPA group and just weighing in and listening to you guys these past couple of days and seeing how you've been operating the sled and everything. But I think you guys understand that, the level of pulling that it needs to be. We're going to get caught up on some comments right here, and then I'm going to kind of line out where we're going to go after that. Randy Barker chiming in saying, hello, thanks for watching. Mark Ham of the Ham Boys Racing Toys checking in and saying howdy. Now, Randy Barker wants to know, would it have just been faster to have ridden your tractor home? Well, see, not a tractor puller, sled operator, and truck driver, truck puller, right? That would be a little more accurate, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Fred Petch watching. Good to hear from you, Fred. Hope all is going well. Randy letting us know he's watching from Grand Junction out there. Cole Lundahl never misses a show. Wonderful fan, big, good friend of mine, good tractor pulling enthusiast. Checking in from Wakefield, Nebraska. Dick Blankenspur, another super fan, watching from Inwood, Iowa. So, Kyle, kind of what I had in mind for the evening. I wanted to recap a couple of things that we can go ahead and discuss from our meetings, a couple of procedures that we want to make some of our Outlaw family aware of. After that, I know we've got John Naragon going to be coming on here. He was our light pro stock points champion in the national division. After that, I'd like to spend some time talking just all things NSPA and where you guys are going to be closing out your season. You've got a huge pull. I was just looking on the app here. A lot of classes lined up, and I can't wait to hear about that. And then after that, Steve Cavan is going to be joining us, our When the Smoke Clears featured social media puller. So a little bit of everything tonight. And like I said, kind of a fun opportunity to be co-hosting this with Kyle Leon here of our NSPA division. Kyle, one thing we talked about in the national division, and as well as you guys have coming up too, it's banquet season, not far off. You guys have your banquet coming up. We have our banquet. I think it's the week after. One thing I want to talk to our Outlaw family about on the national side of things is the Hall of Fame membership and some procedures that we're going to be tweaking a little bit this year. So we're actually going to be going to a ballot style Hall of Fame induction system. So we'll go ahead and see if we can share this screen right here. So Kyle, I'm not sure if you're a big sports fan, if you watch a lot of Major League Baseball or basketball or football, but it's very standard in these bat and ball sports in their Hall of Fame procedures. They typically send out a ballot, with people that they feel are, worthy candidates, and then they get voted into the Hall of Fame. So this year, instead of it being just open to everything, we're actually going to be sending out a ballot. So if you are an Outlaw member, when you receive your invitation to the banquet here within the next couple of weeks, it's also going to come with a ballot of nominations for Hall of Fame members out there. So what we want everybody to do, you're going to vote for 2 members that you would like to see in the Hall of Fame off of this ballot, or 1 member plus your write-in. You can go ahead and write one in, and then what we will do, we will take the top 2 vote getters, and those will be our Hall of Fame inductees for 2025 and moving forward. So to kind of break some of these pullers down, this is the list that we have right now in front of us. So these are our non-active drivers, not currently in the Hall of Fame, listed in order of their points championship. So you can see at the top of this list, and I'll try to see if I can make this bigger, make this a little bit more viewable to our fans out there and our members out there. So at the top of the list, so these are guys not in the Hall of Fame, listed in order of their total points championships. Sitting number one out there right now, Kenneth Popham. He has 9 points championships to his credit. This was a driver that would have retired. Well, I think he pulled clear up into the 20 teens, but really saw his heyday in pulling in the 80s and 90s. He's one of only 2 drivers in all divisions of professional pulling to win 3 separate points championships in 3 separate classes on 3 separate vehicles in the same year. That's only been done one other time by one other driver. So a very strong driver from some of the early days of outlaw truck and tractor pulling. Talked to a lot of modified four-wheel drive truck guys. They're going to know who Kenneth Popham is. Speaking of modified four-wheel drive truck guys, Bert and Tom Byers are on there with 4 points championships between them. Kevin Schreier, this was a name that was brought to us quite a bit from other individuals as well in the diesel super stock as well as the super stock division. Go back over here to my sheet. Rick Barrett is also one of our nominees on there. If we look at kind of his standing out there, you can see that he has 3 points championships to his credit. Sorry, I'm trying to get the specifics on his. So he's got 3 points championships to his credit out there. Albert Kendrick, 3 points championships to his credit. Brent Long with 3. Robert Stokes with 3. Beyond that, we start getting into the 2 and the 1s. Very, very long list. So what we're asking people to do, pick your top 2 off of this, send it in with your vote, or write in a nomination of your own. So this is going to be kind of our new procedures for how we go about inducting a Hall of Fame member this year. The other thing we want to tell people, go ahead and head out to the website if you're interested in the scholarship. That's something that's going to be coming up. We're going to be taking a look at outlawpulling.com. You don't have to necessarily be in that like 18 to 22-year-old range. This is for anybody continuing their education out there that's affiliated with the Outlaw family. You know, Kyle, if you decided right now to go back, I know you've already got your master's, I'm sure, but if you decided to go ahead and get your doctorate or whatever, you know, I don't know someone as smart as you, you might have your doctorate already. So your specialty at this point, if you wanted to pursue that, you know, Dr. Lay out here, you would be as eligible as anyone. So don't think that, you know, well, hey, I'm not, you know, frat boy age right now. If you're 40 years old and you're going back to school, apply for the scholarship. It's for anybody that is continuing their education that's members of the Outlaw family. And the other general message that we're kind of putting out there right now, we are hiring, basically, tech officials. If you are someone who is interested in being a flagman, being a tech official, get in contact with the Outlaws. We're actually going to have an application process, but we are, you know, open to the potentiality of hiring some more tech officials out there. So a lot of things got discussed this weekend or this past couple of days, but those are some of the ones we want to go ahead and make public. Kyle, what'd you think sitting at the round table discussing all things pulling? A lot of passionate people who care about the future of pulling and the future of the Outlaws. I felt like it was a very productive 2 days that we had together over these past couple of days.
I certainly would agree. I think there was a lot of good beneficial information to come out of it, especially on our behalf for almost closing in on our 1 year of being underneath the Outlaw family umbrella and kind of ramping up the NSPA name to, not that we couldn't compete on the level, but to take it to another step to compete with what Outlaws do, but on our side of the division and between our East and West divisions, actually, but then with a few regional hooks we had in there. I think it was good to sit in on this leadership meeting to see exactly kind of where the heartbeat begins to then what pullers get to feel at the actual season.
Yeah, and I think that it's been a very successful partnership, like you say, closing in on 1 year of being together. I know that when it was made public at the banquet last year that we were bringing on, you know, the NSPA group, there was a lot of positive chatter, and I just think the level of expectations and professionalism that your group has brought has really been noticeable, and we're enjoying that so far. Speaking of professionalism, speaking of professionals, we're going to go to a professional winner out there. Going to go ahead and bring on stage at this point John Naragon. I believe this is his second points championship in his many years light pro stock 540 champion. Mr. John Naragon, how are we doing today, sir? Thanks for joining us tonight.
Good, how are you?
Doing excellent. Now, am I right on that? I don't have my quick notes in front of me. I try to keep a decent history, but this is 2 years in a row, right?
Yeah, well, class has been kind of rough this year, so I made it through the whole season. I guess that's the biggest thing. That's the reason we got this.
So you won the war instead of trying to win every single battle, and there were a lot of battles in your class this year. That was something I was going to kind of wait and talk about, but you brought it up. Let's go ahead and discuss that. Boy, the class was kind of plagued this year. There was some breakage and there was some carnage. How was your tractor able to kind of survive through a season that claimed a lot of victims?
Well, I would say good parts, good luck. I think luck more than anything else. But no, season started out, a lot of people weren't ready to roll right away, and then we kind of got going, and then we had a big engine failure in the house, so that kind of put us at box for a little bit there on what we were going to do. I was actually going to pretty much quit for the season, but not really about mine. But then we got Brad going, and for Madison, that was our goal. And then we decided if we can keep them both running, we're going to finish out the year, and that's what we ended up doing. So I was glad to get Brad's chassis out there, and I was excited after he went on the track. So it was good for him.
Now, as I pulled up my notes here, I see that this is a back-to-back points championship for you 2 years in a row in the 540 light pro stock division, but it's your third overall points championship. You also look like you grabbed one in the light limited pro stock class. How big of a difference kind of compare driving an LLP down the track compared to jumping over to one of these light pros? Kyle, in this meeting we had this weekend, we heard some of the leadership people say the 540 light pros are the wildest ride that someone can take out there. Is it quite a difference going from that 466 to that 540 class?
It's like double the horsepower and the same rate, and all it's fun. It's a rush. I love it. You come out with when I did it in 18, you come out, you pretty much had to get on the throttle right away to get rolling, and now you got to kind of almost play with it a little bit to try to keep it hooked up. So it's a way different ride, and I love it. It's unreal how much of a difference it is.
So at what point did you kind of walk me through the decision? How long had you been pulling the light limited pro stock class, and at what point kind of led to the idea of let's jump up and do something different? And did you build the tractor from the ground up, or did you kind of take your old one and rework it? Just talk to me about how that all came to be.
So we started in 2013 when the Outlaws got the light limited pro stock class started. We started then and ran until 18. I won the points championship in 18, and then they were talking about doing some different stuff with some manifolds, and this class was coming up, and we've seen some good, look like a fun ride, so we decided to sell my motor then, and ended up selling my engine, and we put this one together. It's the same chassis. Obviously, we changed gears a little bit and stuff in the rear end, obviously, but I mean, that's pretty much what we went into. So, and it was a learning curve, obviously, just like everything else, just like when we got in the 466 class too. So, but I won't go back. I'm having a rush. So.
Where do you see your pulling? Where do you see your pulling career progressing from here? This back-to-back points championships in the light pro stock class. Is this going to be a class that you're going to continue to hang out in, continue to try to grow, kind of be a liaison, or do you kind of feel like, hey, you've done what there is to be done here, and similar to having your success before, maybe you continue to climb that ladder, or is this going to be where you're really happy, is in this division right here?
Well, I tell you what, I really love pulling this class. There's going to be, if we would have had everybody out this year, there's 8, 9 of us that could have been on the track, and there's a couple more getting built. So the competition is going to come. So I should probably take it in stride what I got the last 2 years, just because I finished the season pretty much, without major breakage. So, but I'm hoping next year to come out, and we'll just have to see. I just hope there's a bunch more competition next year, obviously with, but it's going to be building parts and everything. But we got, I I mean, Brad's ran good. We're going to do a couple of changes to that. He's a big part of our team too. And Al, we'll have him back out again. So I'm excited for next year. I think we're gonna hopefully we can keep them together and just have a fun summer instead of working on them all the time. So.
So Mark Olmer's changing in, says congratulations to you, and he says, hey, just in case you were ever thinking, maybe diesel super stock someday. What's your opinion of a multi-charger setup?
Oh, to be honest, back when I watched in Del Rapids, watched the tractor pull there, the Outlaws, that was my dream class, was diesel super stock. But after seeing what they're doing now and where we're at, I'm content right now, to be honest. I'm having a good time in this class. Got good speed, got good people. Anybody can win. It's not a anybody can win the class every night, any given night. You're not gonna have somebody that's gonna go blow the doors off every night. So that's one thing that's nice about it. So like I said, I love the RPMs. That's the main thing. I love to hear them scream. First couple times it was a little different to get used to, but that was that. And then the the number of events we're going to. We were doing back in 18. I think we did 24, 25 events.
Yeah.
And I run a shop back here. I couldn't be gone that long. It was almost a full-time job. I mean, it was fun. Don't get me wrong, but it was a lot of work. You know what I mean, to keep everything rolling. So I like I said, we got good numbers. We can go different places. We can get people from Wisconsin to come pull with us. So, and they have in the past. Hopefully, they'll continue. So, it's just kind of a fun deal to get into. So,
it's really neat. It's fun to announce your class because oftentimes, it's not uncommon for you guys to be paired with, the light limited pro stocks or maybe the super farms. And they look very similar. I think if you roll a lot of these single charger tractors out, you can almost kind of tell a big pro when it's kind of sitting off doing its thing. And then the other ones look comparable. And the fans are going to see the 466s and they do a great job. And the super farms are unbelievably competitive. But you can kind of see the fans kind of lulled into a sense of they don't know what's coming. And then you guys come out and there is just such an aggressive growl and such a big, hard hole shot. And it injects a lot of energy into it that those fans aren't really sure what hits them because it's such a jump without seeing it look like a jump. It's always a ton of fun to see those come out there. 5-inch charger, is that as big as you guys can go? Or you like the big pros? You're capped at 5-inch. That's kind of what I thought you were doing there.
5 inches, but we capped that. I think it's been 2 years ago, I think already, which is, we're obviously seeing some pretty good damage. So 5 is pretty good size. I think we should just stay here for a while and try to get everybody on board and get rolling here. And, that's just got to get some better parts. Obviously, Al found out what the weak point was on an 8-1 block. So we'll find out. So, but,
let's grab the bull by the horns and kind of discuss that for a second. It's no secret that, your class has battled that. Yep. Now, you said something that caught my attention. You said there's really 8 or 9 or even more out there. And is it just good old-fashioned bad luck? Because it's not like it's the same ones that are broken and the same ones that aren't broken. And that's typical. In pulling, you expect certain vehicles to go down mid-season because of breakage. It just feels like if you could get the stars to align, it's just like the tractors aren't all healthy at the same time. It's all there. The show is there, and it's going to be when all 9 or 12 or 15 of them roll out. And it just is almost like, because this happens in other classes, breakage happens, but it just seems like you guys never catch a break in a good way of all just being ready to roll at the same time. Is it just bad luck, or is the class still evolving? It's a younger class and it's still kind of learning what it's going to be in the future. What are your thoughts on just looking back to the past 5 years in the light pro and looking forward to the next 5 years?
The biggest thing is horsepower increases and what we've seen. I bet we've gained 600 to 800 horsepower in this class. I could be exaggerating or not, but every year we gain something. So it's where you gotta, you get to a point where you gotta, and we're turning so many RPMs too. I think we're actually pretty harder on stuff than some of the other classes are, but it's just finding the good components to keep it together. That's the biggest thing right now. So, and the component chassis coming out. Brad's got his out. That's running really good. If we can, I think a lot of that's going to help with that too. So, not relying on the egg chassis, some of that stuff. Maybe not everybody's going to jump into that right away. I think it might be a way of future, but at the time being, they're still competitive yet. So,
right.
So,
What
I
would
just
you
think, like I
say?
said, I think you said,
Go
like I
ahead.
said, I think it's just bad luck.
That's
Just
what it
bad
feels
timing,
like. I almost
basically.
feel like the class has gotten an unfair reputation because it
Yeah.
looks like the numbers aren't there, but the tractors are there. They're
Yep.
just not all there at the same time.
Same.
And it seems
Yeah.
like you take another classic, light supers or something.
Yep.
One's gonna break.
Yep.
Every couple of shows, one's gonna break, and then it comes back.
Mhm.
And your guys, it seems like it kind of ebbs and flows, and it's just a matter of starting a season or ending a season with them all on the same page.
Great.
Do you feel like it's getting there? Do you feel like within the next 3, 4, 5 years, you're going to see them kind of consistently 8, 9, 10, 12 of them all healthy?
Well, yeah, I would say, I mean, even this year, I think if things would have been, the outcome would have been way different this year. I think if we could have kept a couple of them more going, and got parts to start the season. We started the season with some decent numbers, and then not terribly good, but they weren't bad, and then it kind of dropped off, and then we picked up the last part of the season. We had damn good numbers in the class, I thought. So,
Yeah,
we did in Madison. I think we had 5 or 6 of them up there. I can't remember exactly, but we
sure.
had a good two up there too. So. And there's a lot of learning that a lot of these guys are doing, I think, yet too. Just like I am too. I mean, I'm not saying I got this figured out by any means, but just like I said, well, everybody gives me crap about it. It's like, that thing just runs. I'm like, well, it does now, but eventually it's not gonna. So I'm gonna try to get that figured out this
Mm.
winter. Refreshing it. It's been 3 years, so
Speaking of the winter, what's on the docket for the off season? I was thinking about this on my way home today. I'm pretty sure your class does pull at Louisville, right? They do like a
yeah.
Saturday afternoon where the light pros. That's what I thought. Is that on your agenda? Is that on your horizon? Are you looking to fill out the entry form and wait for the big letter?
No, I guess I applied last year and things didn't work out for them guys, which is fine, but I need to rebuild. I got to spend time on getting that
Okay,
going and getting Al's going. I'm not gonna try to go down to. We just don't have time.
sure.
We're gonna try to
Yep.
redo Al's tractor and redo my engine, and yeah, it's gonna be a full winter just doing that stuff. So that's not even thought. I'm not even
Well,
thinking about it.
I
So
think you had a wise point. You said, hey, we're going on year 3 right here. I don't know what the breaking point is in this tractor. Let's find it in the off season instead of finding it out
yeah,
on the track. Let's go through
great.
and see, what we need to find and what's going on. What were some of your highlights from the 2025 season, in your opinion? Was there a big turning point, or was there something that sticks out to you?
I guess I kind of remain kind of consistent. I guess we did back it down on my mine down a ways just to try to get it to live after Al had his issue, which we got his running really good. We'll be pushing that pretty hard next year. To be honest, the highlight of my season was seeing Brad go on the track. We thrashed in that thing. Didn't make the Iowa State fair because of that. Trying to get it running so we could be in Madison. It worked out. Had a great test pass Friday night. Come back out Saturday and did great. And he got second in Bedford. And I was so happy that my tractor ran to Bedford and didn't have some major problems. So we can make it back and have something to work with this winter. So it was
Yeah,
great.
it's all back in the trailer under its own power in one piece, and
Yeah,
now you can go do your science experiments with all
yep,
your
yep,
variables where they need to be right there. Um,
right,
let's talk. You talk about tracks. You said okay after Bedford, you was
yep,
sigh of relief, everything's where it needs
yep.
to be. Are there certain tracks that you feel are just places you really look forward to pulling? That their dirt is right for your setup or even for your class? Do you have certain places out there that are just you circle them every year? You can't wait to go to, can't wait to compete at.
I'm not gonna lie, Rock Valley's track this year, that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
that thing stood up and went and held in there. Madison's track, I got to give them guys credit for. I mean, they did that. We didn't get up there much or all really. I didn't. I was too busy around here, but they had a hell of a track up there considering a first year. Coming back, moving the grandstands and everything. That track was a blast. Buckner, I always have fun down there.
Sure.
I
Yep.
went damn near 394 feet last year down there. This year I did 330 or 360 or whatever it was. I don't remember. Anyway, it was a fun time. You know what I mean? So that Buckner's a good track. There's always a ton of people down there. Everyone will go to. Like Lee and Pawnee City. It's been kind of funny the last couple of years. Well, we're the only ones there this year, but yeah, Al ended up or I got a win, and Lee and Al got a win in Pawnee City, and that was 3 years in a row for both of us. So I thought that was pretty good time too. So
I asked you what your favorite track was, and I think at this point you've listed almost every place you pulled this year.
Yeah,
I'm starting to
yeah,
think you
I've
just
been
really
fun.
like pulling, my friend.
I'm having fun. I'm
What's
not
your
gonna
favorite
lie,
track?
so,
All of them. He likes
yeah,
all of
pretty
them.
much.
So,
Yeah,
yep.
it's not. I can't say I got one favorite one that I can go to right now. So I mean, yeah, like I said, it's all good time.
Anybody you need to thank in the to getting you another points championship right here? Anybody you need to thank as you're getting ready to go through everything in the off season?
Well, I suppose I better. I gotta thank my family, obviously. Brad, Sherry, and Pam. They all helped out a lot on this whole deal. Obviously they're there with us, supporting us through the whole thing. Bryce, my wife and kids, I better not say that. Magnus and JB, I'll be dead if I don't bring them up. My wife, obviously, for supporting and loving it too. Taylor Rambeek for the tires. Even though Al did beat me once, so we joke back and forth on that. It's funny. Obviously, Bryce at DG Motorsports got great parts. Obviously, just held together. So, probably forgetting somebody, but everybody here at John's Prairie, the guys that help me out all the time too, because they're keeping this place going, and I'm out trying to have fun. So, and then
Awesome.
for having our class, obviously. So, yeah.
Yep, you guys put on a great show. I think you're a good steward for the class. I remember talking to you last year. You had a very similar approach. Just we love pulling. We believe in this class. I think a big takeaway to something that really opened my eyes. I think you brought up some good points in this interview right here. The numbers are there. It's just a little bit of bad luck. It's the class isn't as unhealthy as it looks. It's just the breakage is happening kind of in a pattern style. But it's not like it's always this tractor, always that tractor. It's tractor pulling. And you guys just kind of need the stars to align. I think the stars are going to align, but still, you got to tip your cap to a puller like you, staying consistent, staying on the track, showing up at every show. And, it's not like your tractor is a slouch by any means either, going out there and grabbing the wins when it does. 2026, three-peats. They're hard to come by. Are we going to go ahead and call that the goal for next year? Is that your goal going into every season? I know that's a stupid question. I mean, of course it is. But do you attack your season with the idea of we're going to win a points championship? Or is it more trust the setup and see what happens?
I would say, yeah, we all want to win, but I guess the biggest thing is I'd feel really, really good about next year if we had 10 or 8 to 10 in that class and we all ran hard and we had a, strong points race, you know what I mean? So, last year, Al and I duked it out, you know what I mean? But we were fighting it, just starting to get, keep the thing going. So, like I said, the class going is what I was getting at, so just trying to represent basically to keep everybody to, all our promoters around this area to keep us coming back. So that's the biggest thing this year. I'm ready. Yeah. Be fun to go out and see what happens. Not going to guarantee nothing, but I'm going to try. So
absolutely. Yeah. Well, hey, you're 2/3 the way there. Thanks for coming on the show tonight. Love what you're doing with your tractor. Love what you're doing for the class. And, I think that's something that we all need to keep in mind that, we're just a few good luck things away from this thing really shaking down the way that it's supposed to. 2025 points champion in the 540 light pro stock class. John Naragon, have a great day, my friend. Thanks for joining us.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, Kyle, go ahead and bring you back on here. Put you to the backstage there for a second. I noticed when you were driving and we were getting a little lag and I was hearing a lot of window noise. I wanted to make sure that all our viewers out there could hear John as he was giving his interview. But it looks like we've made it back to the great state. I guess you were in the great state of Colorado, but you've made it back to the great state of home, So you're buckled in and ready to go. How's it feel to be home, my friend?
It's not. Traveling became just, people are like, oh, how far is the drive? And 6-7 hours. And it's, as much traveling as you do over the summer now, or what we did this summer, now you look at traveling like, 8 hours, that ain't nothing. Go to, down to Texas, 12 hours, that ain't nothing. So
it is interesting. Home. It is interesting how it'll change your perspective of the size of the country. I don't do anything like you, but on average, the majority outlaw pulls I go to are right at about 6 hours from home. And what I used to consider that, oh man, that's a 2-day road trip. Now that's just driving to work, so it does kind of change your perspective. Let's talk about Brush, Colorado. I clicked on this thing on the app. That thing is stacked. Is this typical? Is this, will you guys always have a lineup this big? or is this the big end of year blowout? Tell us about what's going down in Brush just this upcoming Friday, I believe.
Yes, this coming Friday. It's actually, hopefully Mother Nature holds out, because it is raining, and it has been raining for the last 2 days. So we don't show much heat, but we're going to be optimistic about it, that hopefully we can pull an event off. So with Brush, the way it kind of works is NSPA, something to get used to kind of in the outlaw world, is on the national side, there is no promoting events. Essentially, a promoter comes to Outlaw, hires Outlaw to put an event on, and essentially we're in the entertainment business. So you're hired, you show up, and you entertain the folks to the best of your ability that they have no clue about. Most people do, but for the ones that you don't, you want to make sure that they know at the end of the night what truck and tractor pulling is all about. On our behalf, NSPA was always built that we promoted our own shows as an organization. So something that changed a little bit this year is going to events now. Well, we've started in Colorado, but then going to Nebraska, to Wyoming, to Kansas. We've learned that now we are following under that same footprint as the national side, that the promoter comes to us, says we want a show, then you say, okay, what can we provide you for classes, so on and so forth, go down through the business aspect, and then we show up, entertain your folks to the best of our ability. So with Brush, it's a combined event of there's a guy that promotes it, that always has for years, and then NSPA kind of promotes the other half, or picks up. So it's a 50-50 split, essentially.
So are you talking about, but the class lineup is going to be all your guys's, or 50% he's going to provide as well?
Nope. So the class lineup is NSPA's. It's all of our classes. So kind of as this, you could look at it being the season finale pull, or
Sure,
close out to the show, or to our season, I should say. We kind of offer everybody one last time to hook before it's put away in the shed.
So we've got, showtime's going to start at 7:00. This is Friday, This upcoming Friday in Brush, Colorado. And just a huge lineup right here. 2-wheel drives, 3,200 RPM super field in your Western division. 4-wheel drives, big block mods, 2.6 diesel trucks in the West division. 3.0 diesel trucks in the West division. Light limited pro stocks, light limited super stocks, modifieds, pro stock 4x4, small block mods, super stock diesel, and WS. I didn't know that one. Work stock. That's going to be work stock, I bet.
That is work stock, yes.
Okay, your work stock. Now, which of these, the class that I loved at Palmer, I just thought this was a driver's class. Was that the small block modified? Is that the one where they've got, the Olivers and the Minneapolis Moline? They're all running the small block Chevys, and they're running the 20.8 tires on the back right there. That one was a ton of fun. Those things, a lot of noise, a lot of RPM, and those big, tall skinnies on the back just looked like they were trying to pass each other the whole time. It looked like the rear was trying to outrun the front. I enjoyed watching that class shake down. I thought that was unique. So if there are Outlaw National fans tuning in, or if there are people who haven't paid attention to NSPA, what are some stories we need to be watching for Brush this weekend? Do we have some points championships where we've got a heavyweight battle that's going to be close? Do we have a class that's going to be stacked with numbers? What are some of the narratives that the outsider looking in could come in and really sink their teeth into as we look at this final hook for you guys?
I would need to do a little research, to be honest with you.
That's a bad interview question. That was one, as I was asking that, I was like, Mike, you're putting him on the spot right.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, well, sled operator. What kind of catches your eye at an NSPA show?
I think on our aspect. Sorry, Mom just come in the door. So she said to watch the Pro Stock 4x4 class.
Why? Because she pulls in it?
Yes, actually.
I feel like that's a biased answer a little bit.
Yeah. She does pull in the Pro Stock 4x4 class, but she also pulls in the modified 4-wheel drive class that we offer.
Now, the modified, is that going to be in the ballpark like, ours and the national side or anyone else? Is that bar tread tires and 650 cubic inch or bigger, mountain motors and everything? That's true modified four-wheel drive truck pulling.
Yep. Same.
So who do we have? I'm going to go over to your point standings because that's my favorite class. People know this. You're not supposed to have a favorite class as an announcer, but I do. and I like the door slammers. So who do you have hanging out in that class? So we've got Tyler Green in the Kamikaze, Ron Green in the Jackpot, Ivan Schneider in the Boot Scootin' Boogie, of course, Nicole in the Geared Up, and Mike Franklin in the Gone Nuts. 11 points separating first and second. Looks like Tyler Green sitting pretty right now. Well, what's person need to know about this class? Are these all heavy hitters right here?
Yes. It's going to be, I know the points gap is a bit wide, so I'm going to almost say that Tyler Green in Kamikaze is going to walk out with the points champion. But that class, kind of going back to your 540 talk earlier, as long as all of the pickups are happy and on the track, it's a great class.
Sure.
But for some reason this year, I'm telling you, it's been 1 drops, 2 drops, 1 comes back, you get 3 back, 2 more drop. Parts have been a hard issue this year, and I don't know.
It's not that breakage is a problem. It's just that the bad luck is happening at inconsistent times. And I really like that. I think that's a way we need to think about pulling, because I think classes can accidentally get a bad reputation. That's not necessarily the case. It's just a little bad luck sometimes.
It's absolutely.
Now, I'm having a light bulb moment, and I'm kicking myself here because I'm a modified four-wheel drive truck fan. And I had this conversation earlier in the year, and I think I'm just now making the connection. But I talked to Rob Foster at Farley, and I was talking to Rob, and I said, Rob, I'd heard a rumor a long time ago. One of your trucks went like out west. They went to like Colorado or something like that. That's your guys' truck, isn't it? Didn't you guys buy? Okay, well, he said
it's here.
I thought I understood that. He told me that he goes, well, your folks from the NSPA have it. Is that truck in your division or out there somewhere?
It is. So Jackpot, that's driven by Ron Green, that's my grandfather. So my mom's dad, that's his pickup. And it's
so that is the old, well, I don't want to say the old or the new, that's the middle Simply Red. There's been 3 different Simply Reds. That was like the 1961 body style or whatever Simply Red that he had there for a long time.
Yes, that is correct. And then it's now, they redid it, and it's all black, and it's called Jackpot.
Okay. So that one, I'm assuming, he's sitting number 2 in points. The reputation kind of speaks for itself. Tough runner out there, just as it's always been, I would say then, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So what are some other stories, some other narratives? Now, your mom said keep an eye on what the Pro Stock four-wheel drives are. Now, is that the West Division?
Yep.
Yeah, only 4 points separating Mike Franklin and John Coons, the misbehaving, and the dude. Yet again, these are questions I should know the answer to, but why not find them and just do it live? Is this just the exact same as what you see with the Outlaw Pro Stock four-wheel drives? DOT tires, 485 cubic inch, gasoline. Is that what we're looking at out here?
Yeah. So to kind of give you, not to go off topic, but to kind of fill you in on our classes. So like our 2.6, our 3.0 diesel pickups, the Pro Stock 4x4, modified four-wheel drive, two-wheel drive, our mod tractors,
light limited supers.
We have light limited pros, and then so those 7 classes are identical to what pull on the Outlaw National side. Same thing, same rules. We follow the rules. Now we have Dan Christensen that drives the Wanted. We have a small class of light limited super stocks, and that class, if he pulls with you guys, he usually pulls under the light super stock.
Light super ag. Yep, he jumps in the light super stock ag class, even though he is technically a light limited super, which they're a little bit under cubed compared to our light super ags, but not crazy out of bounds,
Nope. I'll tell you, that class there, it's fun, but to me, as a sled operator, it's dangerous.
The super ag class?
No, the light limited super stock class.
Okay, so let's talk about, you're a sled operator. And by the way, and we'll go ahead and say this, one of the best jobs, one of the most impressive things that I've seen in my time in pulling, the job that you guys did, the job that you personally did at Rock Valley this year, that's a big pull. Like that's a destination pull. You're sitting back there, what, 25, 26 years old. You're the backup sled operator. You rolled in and didn't only just save the day. Your sled settings were perfect. I mean, you nailed it and really ensured that a top-notch show stayed a top-notch show. So I feel very comfortable then asking you this, because obviously you know what you're doing. What about the light limited supers? Okay, you're a sled operator. What makes them dicey for you?
Me personally, I think it's just for the power that they're pushing out to the weight ratio of the class weight just doesn't quite meet. So when you're pushing that much power to that little bit of weight, things can go south in a hurry. And I would say that class has given me probably the most wild rides that I've ever been on. Let's put it that way. So you kind of got to be ready.
Light supers being light supers, basically, is what you're saying. It kind of doesn't matter if they're called ag or limited.
No.
Light super stocks are goofy, It's a lot of power with not a lot of staying on the ground.
No, and you don't know when the green light flies and the green flag drops. You just don't know what's going to happen in the next 15 seconds.
Don't give me any names. I don't want to know names because I want to respect all the pullers. But I imagine as a sled operator, and I'm sure you could ask any sled operator this, are there certain pullers in certain classes where when they hook to the sled, put your hands back and say, we're going for an A to B. I'm not worried about it. And then are there some others, with your group or any group you've done where you have that hand hovering above the kill switch and you're kind of poised and ready? And if so, are you on red alert a little bit more? It sounds like in the light limited super stock class.
Yes and no. Most of the time, I'm going to be honest with you. There's the sled overall is 33 feet roughly in length. So I'm just going to say there's a lot of iron between me and that tractor.
Yeah, sure.
If something's going to go wrong, I'm hope to be not the first person hurt, but I don't ask them to be the first person hurt either, right?
Sure.
So in that realm, regardless of the wild ride or not, you're there for the ride essentially. Yep. But I always have to refrain myself from telling, I'm going against what I just said on the public wheel, because essentially people will come up and ask me as a sled operator, oh, you have the best job. You just get to ride all night long. Unfortunately, we don't get to ride all night long. We do physically, but mentally, your mind is running through every aspect to make sure that everything works to 110% every hook, because we have our failure rate has to be 0, unfortunately.
Yep. You're the ultimate referee in all of this. You're kind of the final judge and jury in pulling. I mean, you are. This is the sport exists around the sled. I mean, it's in the writing of the rules. Whoever pulls it the furthest. So you're what dictate. And on the other end of the spectrum, and I think about this a lot, a puller puts a lot of trust in you. Imagine coming up here with 4,000 horsepower, spinning your wheels, upwards of 100 miles an hour, maybe traveling 38 miles an hour in 300 feet, and saying, I know I can give it all this go because he's going to stop me. That's a big responsibility. That's a big amount of trust that's laid into you 100 times a night, so.
Absolutely. Well, and kind of going back to your Rock Valley event. So on that Saturday, for as quick as it happened, and bless Gary's heart, because, things just happen, right? And we're human. There's going to be a mistake or an error, but in the moment, I think it helped just kind of on the spot, like we were called up into action, because it gave me little time to get any nerves worked up.
You didn't have time to psych yourself in or out of it. It was all of a sudden the quarterback's injured and get in there and throw us a touchdown. And you were like the guy in Varsity Blues, you just strapped on the helmet and you didn't have time to think about it. You just went and did what you do. But, I think that's worth noting. And I think fans need to remember that too. If you'd never noticed the sled, he had a perfect night, and you 99% of the time won't. It's like an umpire. You don't notice they're there, but just think about, they're the ones, that's a lot of momentum to stop every single time. I'm going to get caught up on some of the comments. We've got some great viewers watching. Ed Sass, A friend of mine on Facebook out there, longtime puller out of Iowa, saying hello. Thanks for watching. Case Conover watching from Lytle, Texas, getting ready for Lufkin. Absolutely. I haven't even talked about Lufkin at all tonight. I've been all over the place with a lot of awesome guests so far, but definitely dragging and pulling in the Pines coming up in the middle of October. Going to be a huge event down there. Now, Mark Ulmer, who is not the least bit afraid of anything pulling. You talk about these get wild, these get Western. I think you could strap Mark to a tornado and he would just look at it and say, no problem. He's just sitting there saying light super stock ag, light super stock. He goes, that's just fun. That's just good old fashioned fun. To the fans' perspective, absolutely. There's nothing I would rather watch than, those things going down there and doing their thing. But, I think, Kyle, you're giving us a fun perspective, an important perspective of kind of from the other side of the glass back there in this as a sled operator. So let's hit these classes again, get back on topic with Brush, Colorado. A whole bunch of them out there. What more can you tell us about this pull? Give us the details as well. What time do the gates open? What do fans need to know? Pullers, are we all registered on the app? Is the app open for registration? Give us the rundown of what pullers and fans need to know coming up and getting ready for Friday.
So coming up on Friday, pits will open. Well, pits are pretty much open all day, but gates for spectators will open at 6, an hour before the showtime. And Brush is a unique little town. Of course, it's a coincidence because we have all of our classes there to create as big of a show as possible for us. And for us, like a good 40, 45 hook count is like a perfect show because we can keep it around. For as tight as the facility is, we usually run about 3 hours, and that's just perfect because then the crowd's happy. You don't lose anybody. The attention span's there. And that's what we kind of shoot for there because the pits are kind of small, but any and all are welcome. So the app is open. You can register on there, and they have up until the day of to register, or they can come to the event and register as well if they want to pull. There's no limitation there, and that's what we kind of have there. I mean, you can buy a pit pass to be in the pits, or you can buy a grandstand ticket to be in the grandstands.
Awesome. So drivers can go ahead and get registered. And this is it. This is the big hoorah, the big blowout for NSPA this year. Did look like there's a couple points races that haven't been decided yet. We might see some movers before things are done. Looks like a couple others where things are, more or less wrapped up, as tends to be the case in pulling. It's, so funny. These past 2 days, I kind of overheard you guys talking a lot, and I made the incorrect assumption. You kept talking about brush. We got to pull. And I thought, okay, they're having a brush pull somewhere. Like I thought you were like, people that just did, you talk about farm stock pulling. I thought you and, all you guys were just chatting about, I was like, oh, that's the name of the town. Took me about half a day before. So we're not brush pulling. We're not, it's not like NSPA's done and you guys are just hanging out. You have a big pull in brush, not a big brush pull. So
yes,
this is a big pull in a town called Brush in Colorado. Mountains in the background. What are we looking at here? Is this one of those awesome, NSPA backdrops where you've got, the Rockies and whatever back there? Or
no, unfortunately, this is not a Windsor, Colorado. We're from Denver. You need to go northeast, essentially, about maybe an hour-ish. We're located directly right off of Interstate 76. Like, you can't miss it. So if you come in on I-80, you get on Interstate 76 or however you're going to come in. But where Fort Morgan is, you're going to continue east to Brush. It's a little town, and right off the interstate, you turn off and head towards the fairgrounds.
Awesome. Well, going to be a great time. I look forward to touching base with you again. It was a lot of fun getting to spend some time interacting and having the meeting of the minds this weekend. Might give you a call, see how things shake down. Keep up the great job you guys are doing out there. And folks, this show, 99% of the time we're talking about Outlaw National Division. Go check NSPA out. And now, is it the National Sled Pullers or Sled Pulling? I want to make National Sled Pullers Association. My dad told me that's the best name for a pulling organization he's ever heard. He said, people, when you say tractor pulling, if they don't know the sport, they get an incorrect assumption. They think that we're brush pullers, But by calling it sled pullers, well, you're picturing the actual sled, and it's, it's four-wheel drives, it's modified. NSPA, I love it. Go check them out, guys. They're awesome partners with the Outlaws. Like I said, about 1 year we've been doing this together. I was able to see some of your equipment this summer. Looking forward to seeing how this shakes down. Looking forward to seeing you guys continuing taking pulling in the right direction. Thanks for coming on tonight. Thanks for all you do for us, man.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yep, you betcha. So Kyle Lay out there representing the NSPA group, going to have an awesome show this weekend. Of course, that is our NSPA Heartland division. We did actually decide to drop the Heartland moniker from that. So we will just be referring to that as the National Sled Pullers Association from now on, or just NSPA or NSPA Outlaw. Based out of Colorado out there, do a lot of pulling in western Nebraska, eastern Colorado, even into Kansas and Wyoming. Going to wrap things up out there in Brush, Colorado. So one show to go on the NSPA side. And then just as Case Conover was saying, one show to go on the national side as well. And let's take a moment and talk about that. Case Conover says, watching from Lytle, Texas, and ready for Lufkin. Absolutely. And what an awesome show that has really developed and, you know, kind of grown into over the past several years here. Dragging and pulling in the Pines, the final show on the national side of the Outlaws. I'm going to pull up the national app over here, get you guys some information on it as well. So Lufkin, Texas, last pull of the year. I believe there's about 5 classes still to crown points champions. Of course, we talked to John Naragon tonight. He's your light pro stock champion out there. A lot of classes have wrapped up their 2025 season, 2025 campaign. But we're going to go down to Lufkin, Texas, October 17th and 18th. Mission 22. All this goes to raise awareness for military suicides for those servicemen and women who are affected by, mental health and PTSD. Every 22 minutes, one of our servicemen and women veterans unfortunately take their own life. So there is a fundraiser to raise awareness and to, of course, bring an end to that, to all those heroes out there that pay the ultimate sacrifice without having to do that. So good cause, good pull, good show. Super modified 2-wheel drive trucks still yet to round out, crown a champion out there. 3.0 diesel trucks, your limited pro stock diesel trucks, going to be pulling down there, going to crown a champion. Modified tractors, the big 7,400-pound Outlaw mods. Not only are we going to crown a champion, we are also going to take a look at some other iron that's going to be coming and pulling in Lufkin, Texas. You've heard Ron talk about, we anticipate some pullers from Kentucky. Now, I just heard in our meetings today, typically when Ron and I kind of beat around the bush, talk about Kentucky, you guys know that we're alluding to Wayne Sullivan out there. He might not be the only puller from Kentucky. Might not be the only modified from Kentucky. So I'm going to leave you guys scratching your head. Might see some more of the Bluegrass State pullers coming out there and hanging out with us. And you might see some more from the Sunshine State out there in California as well. We've heard that maybe some of the MLM guys, the Major League Motorsport guys, might be coming out to do some pulling in Texas as well in that mod class. So shaping up to be a really, really interesting mod class in Lufkin. Not only going to crown a points champion, but we're going to take a look at some iron we don't typically see. Pro stock 4-wheel drive trucks, not pulling for points. I'm not sure if that is going to be through the Outlaws or if that's going to be a Texas Truck and Tractor Pullers. I do know it's co-sanctioned down there with them. Regardless, that one points championship has been wrapped up. But the pro stock tractors, they're pulling for Outlaw points. Super stock diesel trucks, not a points class this year, but they'll be pulling through us as well. And then your Texas Hot Farms going to be pulling with the Texas Truck and Tractor Pulling Association down there as well. 2-day show, October 17th and 18th. Start time 6 o'clock each night. The app is open, so pullers out there, if you are looking to get registered, go ahead and jump on the app. Go ahead and get signed up for Lufkin, Texas. Taking a look on the app right now, I can see we've already got 6 of them already lined up in super modified 2-wheel drive truck class. We got Cameron Pascal in the high cotton, Brant Sullivan. So there you go, right there, all the way from California, from Hanford, California, going to be coming out here with the Voodoo Machine. Tim Fitzsimmons, who lives like 10 miles that way, just northeast of my house over there in Macon, Missouri. He's going to be going all the way down to Texas. Richard Morris in the Buffalo's chips, and then Donald Nelson with each of his 2 super modified 2-wheel drive trucks going to be pulling right there in the home state of Texas. That's just what we have registered for right now. You know it's Texas, so you know that the trucks are going to come out of the woodwork down there. Diesel 3.0 trucks, got 3 of them signed up at the moment. Guys, we're like 3 weeks away. We're a long ways away, so these numbers are going to get bigger. Jimmy Deaverman, Emily Schaefer, and Skylar Leeper all signed up to do battle in the diesel trucks. Pro Stock 4-wheel drives, of course, Roper Brown, just up the road there in Oklahoma, is going to come down and pull. Modified, 7 of them on the app already. Wayne Longnecker in the River Rat, Vern Huser in the Say Goodbye, Craig Ulmer in the Sweet Pain, Case and Petch Thermal Thunder, Dustin Corliss having a nice season in the Twisted Whip, Cameron Eves, Cotton Candy, and then Don Nelson's Bullbuster going to be pulling. And your Pro Stocks got 3 of them already. Cody Ark and Gone, Robert Davison in the Red Iron, Greg Jagger in the Wampscat. You know that you're going to see the Weggers down there as well with each of their Pro Stocks. You're going to see a lot more numbers. It's going to be a great pull. Got one section of the show left for everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. You know, typically this was a 7 to 8 o'clock show, but over the past couple of weeks, it's been more of a 7 to 8:30 show. So thank you for everyone for watching. Let's go ahead and bring to the stage Steve Cavan. Steve.
How's it going?
Sure. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Sorry I'm late.
Don't worry about it. Where'd you go for dinner? Was it excellent?
I was fine. I'm not going to go with excellent, but it worked out.
It's going to give you the necessary energy for the next couple of days anyway. So coming off a very important dinner, I texted you and I said, hey, you are our featured puller, When the Smoke Clears puller. And if you want to come on the show, and you said, well, I've got, was it the in-laws coming into town?
Yeah, my wife's family, she's got some from Michigan and California, and they're kind of all over, and they'll come back. So we had to go to dinner. So
you are a better husband than I am. See, that's the right answer. The right answer.
Happy wife, happy life.
Yes, honey, I'll go to dinner. I come upstairs to my office and do pulling podcasts and stuff. So, well, thanks for joining us tonight. Have you seen any of these When the Smoke Clears highlight videos and biographies and stuff?
Yep.
So
we were watching it on the way home here, and we were talking to Kyle and Rock Valley. I was first hook as usual in that class, and Kyle wheeled up there, and I thought, whoa, this ought to be interesting. New sled, new operator. He was spot on. It was awesome.
I messaged him after the show at Rock Valley. I don't know if you're a sports guy, grew up with football or anything like that, but in my mind, you can almost always give out a game ball. Here was the person who really stepped up, did a good job. And I kind of liked in the back of my mind, look around our production crew and say, who really did something well at each show. I messaged Kyle the next day and I said, buddy, like, if no one else has told you yet, like, you're the game ball winner for that show. I mean, that's impressive to be sitting there 25 years old, 26 years old, maybe the 3rd biggest pull in the country, and just, hey, need you. And I didn't feel like he missed a beat. I thought he did a great job operating that vintage green sled. Yep, he did a really nice job. So you were sitting there saying, okay, I haven't hooked to this before. He hasn't hooked to me before. Were you kind of curious as to how that was going to shake down?
Well, they were having problems with the orange sled. And Bob Dovlar come up to me and he's like, we think we have it fixed. Do you want to pull, or should we pull the front wheel assist tractor and test it out? So I'd rather you pull the front wheel assist so I don't have to make a couple runs if it's not right. And they did it once and they thought it was okay in the second time and it was not right. I'm like, well, thank God. They're trying to keep the show moving. And well, thank God it wasn't broke, because that would have killed the show there too. We'd have had to pull 2-3 tractors again and it would have been a mess. So I'm glad they did it that way.
Yep. And really looking back now, and even later on that night, you barely even noticed the transition was done quickly. And that's why you have, we actually brainstormed, and I've wondered this before. We were brainstorming on our meetings today. What if at a huge show, your Wisners or your Rock Valleys or a Wayne or something like that, if a person could afford it and if it was all there, bring 3 sleds anyway. And instead of having the downtime to reweight one, just have the other one weighted and just bring it up forward. And that be a pretty quick way to make a big show go by fast. So, and we kind of wondered about that. Not saying we'll see that happen in any time soon in pulling, but it's something to think about. So I have not even looked at your highlight video yet. So let's take a look at it here together, live time this week. When the Smoke Clears, you'll be looking at an Outlaw, the Outlaw that you'll be checking out this week. Steve Cavan, Pride of the Farm, Super Farm. Give us your reaction to your very own highlight video. Did we do you any justice at all?
Looks good. I'm not center stage very often, but yeah, it looks good.
Yep, those are cool. Got to give a big shout out to Mackenzie Teeting at Beer Money Pulling Team and all the good crew over there at Beer Money. They run kind of our technical stuff. I just send her with the info and I say, Kenzie, I need one of these. And then she goes out and grabs a video and puts it together. So big thank you to her for doing that and all the stuff that she does behind the scenes for us as well. And let's take a look at your biography here. We're just going to break this down together and kind of chit chat, talk all things pulling here for just a second. So Steve Cavan's going to be your featured social media puller. He does drive the Pride of the Farm, Super Farm. Asked him how long he's been pulling. 25 years total, 5 years pulling in the Super Farm, 20 years. Five years
out of the field.
Farm pulling, 5 years farm pulling,
Yep.
and 20 years competitively in Super Farm. Said your first hook was in Boulder, Colorado in 2004? Am I reading that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Tell us about your history in pulling. Tell us about, farm stock pulling up to super farming. Did you come from a pulling family, come from an ag family?
Just my dad's pulled for years and years. We've been around pulling. Started farm pulling. It was nothing, just out of the field stuff. It wasn't anything major. And then, in 2004, 5. I think it was 2004. Got Kent's tractor and we took it out to Boulder, Colorado and pulled it out there. And they ate it up. It was just me and Dad that it went out there and they just loved it. We pulled and, well, can you guys come back and pull again? Well, yeah, sure. So we did. And they loved it. So that was kind of where we started. And that's kind of where I started on the Pride of the Farm and have been running that ever since. So
you've had the same tractor for 20 years. Is that what you're saying? Since 2004, you went out there to Boulder, Colorado. Now, I was talking with Kyle with the NSPA group, the Colorado group. I'm just going to kind of guess here. Was the Super Farm out there? That was probably pretty hot stuff, I would imagine. I mean, did they have anything that was cranked up as much as maybe a Super Farm was, or was that par for the course out there?
We were the only 2 diesel tractors that would run of any sort. There was a couple semi trucks, looked like they drug them out of the weeds, and they were loving that. And it was a neat pull. And I remember we were there, and all of a sudden it just started pouring rain, and we're like, "Oh man, the show's over!" And somebody's like, "Give it 5 minutes." And sure enough, the storm passed, and it was so rocky out there, it dried up, and we went to pulling again. Nobody moved. They just knew it was going to rain for like 5 minutes, and then we'd go on with the show. It was a really neat atmosphere. I had the Boulder Times or something. We found the article the other night when I was writing up that biography. I was on the front page of the newspaper.
Oh, no kidding!
My debut first hook, and it was a neat deal.
And this is the first time you've ever driven it, too, right?
Yep.
And so you're going out there, and they thought you were the neatest, sweetest, most completest, like Dave Bennett used to say. Did the crowd just go nuts when you went down the track, too?
Oh, yeah. They love the smoke and the tractors out. There's a lot more of them out there now with the NSPA and stuff. But at the time, I want to say it was an ATPA tractor pull, I think, at the time.
Okay.
And they really didn't have our class. We just went out to put a show on. So,
yeah, that's awesome. I think you talked about this a second ago, but I don't think that I processed it correctly. So Chris is asking the question, the original Pride of the Farm from the 1980s. Is there a connection there? And I can kind of picture what he's talking about, kind of not. Talk to us about the history of the tractor kind of in your side of things.
My father-in-law, Kent Moravec, built that thing, and I want to say early 90s, 91, 2, 3, somewhere in there.
Sure.
And it has been the same sheet metal ever since the 5488. The paint we haven't changed paint or nothing. I guess we take care of it too much, but I don't know. As far as I know, there's another Pride of the Farm I've seen somewhere along the way, but this one is the original 5488. It's always been. And he had pulled it a little bit, and it was sitting in the shed when we got it for Colorado. I got it ready. I would have been I went to Milford for Diesel Tech. I was just out of that and started working on pulling tractors, and I got it ready, and we took it out there, and Kent thought that was pretty all right to just watch the tractor. So then me and him kind of partnered up, and I did all the engine stuff, and he took care of the tires, and then went from there.
Marty Samuelson wants to know if you pulled at Ravenna earlier this year.
I did. Yep. We watched it rain, and then I was first hook there again as usual. And the track was either going to go longer or shorter. So first hook was going to be good or bad, and well, it just grew and grew after that. So
it went a lot longer. Some of our longest distances of the year. Of course, we saw some insane distances this year, but I remember like Jared Johansson ended up like 399 feet or something like that, and they ended up setting a pull-off mark. And Jared, he didn't see the flagman. I think is
he was past him.
Sometimes, well, sometimes it's a little hard to see him out of there. But Jared had been wanting a big run for a long time, and I tell you what, that thing was hooking and booking that night. And I don't know, he might have had the red thrown on him, but you didn't see him. That happens sometimes, When you're on a good pass, it's interesting how that shakes down. So I love your guys' class. You guys have a competitive class. You're always pushing things to the limit. So you've been pulling for 20 years with the Super Farm. Your first hook was in Boulder, Colorado. Most memorable hook, winning Wisner in 2007, as well as Rock Valley in 2016 and 2024. Wisner and Rock Valley, I mean, those are pulls that just mean a little bit extra, right?
That's your big shows. It's always really, really nice to win them. I haven't taken home a Thunderbolt or a Rock, but I can always put together one run out of that, or not always. Sometimes I can put together one, but never two.
What's the feather in your cap that you're still kind of searching for in your career? Do you have like, well, I want to do this before I hang it up, or I want to do that, or I want to win at this track? What are some crown jewels that you're still after out there?
It'd be nice to get a Thunderbolt or a Rock once, and
Louisville.
Louisville. We're a little bit off from where the Louisville Super Farms are, but it'd be fun to get there and get into the finals at least. Kind of a good deal there.
I think if you ever ask a puller, if you say, what do you want to do before your career is done? And if they don't say Louisville, then they're in the wrong sport. I think regardless of where you're at competitively or where you're at in your career, in their heart, every puller wants to go down to Freedom Hall if they ever have the opportunity.
I was there in 16. We went down there.
Then you pulled in 16?
Yep. That'd be February 16 we run. That was the year I won points. I worked over the tractor pretty hard, and she was running really good. I was third hook, and I think I ended up 7th place or something like that. I remember Dave Bennett coming, how's it going to go? And I says, well, first hook's going to lead it, and then we're all going to fall a little short, and then the track's going to come back around later in the class, and that's exactly what happened. So.
Sure. Yep.
But it was an honor to get to go there. It was fun.
Yeah,
kind of a once in a lifetime thing.
Not many people. The great majority of pullers don't ever even get to step foot in there, and it's a historic place. Now, I got to stand on the track in Louisville this year, and I can say just getting to stand on it is a big deal. I'm not a puller, and Lord knows I doubt I'll ever announce there, but I did stand on the track, and I won't lie to you. I was tempted to reach down and pick up a clod of dirt and bring it back home with me because, hey, everyone wants that sand pile, but it's where every puller wants to go, no doubt about it.
It's awesome to stand on that dirt and just look up at them seats, and it's really neat.
It's an amazing feeling, no doubt about it. You said your wildest ride, Weeping Water, in 2022, tested out new tires and ended up bouncing pretty bad. That's interesting because I would almost argue that Weeping Water was one of your best runs you had this year in 2025.
This year, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So Weeping Water has been both good and bad to you.
Yeah, Weeping Water is kind of my hometown pull. I mean, we're 20 minutes away. That's our closest one. But I had gotten out late that year, and we're trying some tires, and it was not very good. It got really bouncy on me. And Super Farms, you don't have a lot of wild rides on, but that one was by far my worst.
Now, so you won there this year, if I remember correctly. And if my memory serves right, were you in the first hook position at that again as well?
Yeah, so you could about guess that. I'll be there.
So,
but
so hometown pull, one of the hardest to win. Just every puller knows that. And test puller spot. Now, the only one harder, probably number 2. Getting the number 2 draw is probably the only one tougher. But that's a tough position to sit there, go out there, keep your hook, and then just watch. Here comes Jared Johansson. Here comes Brad Halinga. Here comes Alan Andrews. you've got a whole fleet of people chasing you.
Yeah, there's a lot of bullets to dodge.
So was that, do you get hyped up at this point in your career when you're leading a class like that? Is it still special to go out there and grab a win at the hometown pull? Or, I mean, are you kind of used to it,
No, it's a neat feeling. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
First hook, it's kind of, I pretty much always keep it. I don't want to come back hot. I try to do it right the first time, and that I'm just going to keep it because it's not worth coming back again. But yeah, it's a neat feeling to sit there and first, the first hook helped out, and I set it up the way I thought it should have been, a little better than last year. And I was like, I had it in my head, I'm going to keep it. And I went down and killed it. I mean, that track was good.
Not only did you kill it up until and I don't know if you stayed and heard the announcement throughout the whole time, you were the longest distance of the night until the second to last puller hooked. You were sitting there. You were going to win the Wiffles winning distance. You were going to go home with a cooler. Yeah, and I think like the second to last or third to last puller of the night. Yeah, Brian Deck went out there and he ended up going home with like 3 or 4 coolers this year. But you were poised and ready, so it wasn't like you just won your class. You laid down a mega pass.
Yeah, I kind of razzed Brian Deck about it. I says because I was sitting there leading it forever, and then I was watching the way it took off. We had the kids with, so we took off for home and was watching the app, and yeah, sure enough, he got us. So I had to razz him a little bit about that. He asked if I wanted it. He said I could have it because he's got a bunch of them. He said I'm going to have to start drinking with all these coolers I got.
So what did you tell him? Yeah, of course I want a Frosted Frog cooler. Or did you say, nope, I want to win one on my own?
I want to win it myself,
Yep,
I'd have taken it. He gave me one other one, Ravenna, I think it was, because he had blasted off. It was with Bill Barrett in his trailer. So I text Brian, you want this cooler? And he's like, no, you can have it. I got 5 or 6 others.
There you go. Yeah. He had a couple to his credit this season. Yeah, that's for sure. Points championships. You've already talked about this one. 2016 Outlaw National Points Championship, and then 2011 with the Nebraska Bush. Go ahead and talk about that for a second too. I usually kind of gloss over this, but I want to chat about it. The majority of pullers out there too aren't going to win a points championship. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. Not everybody goes home a winner at the end of the day in anything that you do. Is that something that, regardless of if you ever win another one or 2 more or 10 more, is that going to stay special to you for forever?
Oh yeah. It's a lot of work, especially in our class, to win. I mean, there is no slouches in our class. So if you can walk away with a points championship, you're doing pretty good.
I would put the Outlaw Super Farm up against any other group of super farms in the country. And then B, like if you're a diehard pulling fan or a diehard sports fan, if you're someone who really wants to watch close races, good competition, you're not watching the same guy go out win every single night, watch the Outlaw Super Farms. It is one of the tightest classes and one of the hardest things to win. And when you win it, you've done something big. So yeah, and that's, 2016, that's not way long in the past. Do you feel you've got one left in you? I mean, you strike me as someone who's got another 20 years of pulling. Do you see that in your sights before it's all said and done?
Yeah, we can do it. With the kids last few years, it's been tough to travel, and it's a commitment to get out there and get it done. Usually I got a shop full, so I don't always get out the earliest. That's where that year I went to Louisville, my stuff was ready in February, so I didn't have to do anything. But usually I'm working on everybody's tractors up until it's time to go pulling. So mine takes the back burner seat and I don't always get it ready. So, but yeah, sooner or later we'll get back in. Kids get a little older, we can do a little more running around.
Said your biggest pulling hero, Ricky Barrett and Bill Barrett. Talk to us about the Barrett family for a second.
They're kind of, when I started the shop, they were kind of one of the early ones to come to me and they were big bad pro stocks at the time. Looking back years ago, they weren't. Well, they're about like our super farms now. But Ricky was a heck of a track reader, and the stories he had and the tractor pulling he'd done. They're just a couple guys that I just have looked up to.
Yep. And it is worth noting too, to kind of bring this whole show full circle. I don't know if you saw at the beginning where we talked about how we're adjusting a little bit how we're going to be doing our Hall of Fame voting moving forward. We're actually sending out a ballot that's got nominations on it. And then all of our Outlaw members are going to be able to vote for 2 of the nominated ballot pullers, or they can write in one puller of their choice. And then the top 2 vote getters will be that year's inductees in the Hall of Fame. And Rick Barrett is one that's on the ballot this year. So that will be one of those pullers that people are able to vote for. So, big time puller in the Outlaws for a while. No doubt about it right there. Day job. He says he's a farmer and a mechanic at Cavan Engine and Dyno Services. Which of those takes up a bigger part of what you do in your day-to-day life?
The shop probably takes up more time than the farming. Farming comes first, but I end up with more time in the shop. It's all winter, and you get done early with something. It's in the shop working on stuff. And
have you heard the old saying where they say, "Don't let your night job become your day job"? And what I've noticed, and it's totally the same for me too. I'm as guilty as anyone. This tractor pulling business stuff kind of turns into our night job, turns into our day job, our side job. Really, a lot of stuff, a lot of hours get spent right here. It's a sport of passion. You wouldn't change it. I'm sure you wouldn't change spending the hours in the shop helping other people for anything, though.
No, it's great. It's awesome to watch everybody go down the track and do well. Win, lose, whatever. It's just if somebody on the shop wins, it's a great feeling. You did well. 2.5 years ago, 2.5 years ago, we built the house just on the other side of the shop. So that's been a blessing too, that, it's a blessing and a curse because you can walk just across the driveway to the shop, but it's also nice to be close to home and kids come over all the time. So that's, it's work, but yet it's still, you get the family life with it too.
It's, you did that a little different than most people. Most people I hear that they have their nice home and everything, and then they go build a big shop. You had the shop, and then you're like, well, I guess we better put a house by it too. So you had the shop first. A lot of guys out there saying, I didn't know that was an option. I might have to do it that way. Shop first, home second. Hey, you said your goals that you still have, win another points championship. We talked about that. I really liked your answer. I asked you kind of, that's not an easy question. Do you feel you have another one in you? Very confident. You're like, yeah, if we get our ducks in a row, you feel very good about it. That's going to be fun to watch. That's going to be neat to see that narrative develop. So the goal is there. You're a believer in what you can do. Louisville, what do you feel like that's a place that you can go before it's all said and done a second time?
It's going to be a while before we get back to there. It's going to take us some changing over to get there. And I don't know. It's a drive in the wintertime. It's an awesome place to go pull and be at, but it's a lot of work to get there,
And I noticed that too, especially the more I've spent time with the Outlaw group. We're out here, compared to I'm on the eastern edge of the Outlaws. I'm over here, northeast Missouri, just on the edge of the Mississippi River over here. Louisville's still 6 hours that way from me. Well, I'm the halfway point compared to, I'd say, where you are. That's a pretty good haul going out there from, northeast Nebraska or east central, wherever, you guys are, all the way out to Louisville. That's no small commitment just getting there.
Yeah, 11 plus hours to get there.
Yep. So the best part about being an outlaw is traveling to different places, the new people we meet and the friends we've made years, get to spend our summers with. I talked to Mike Compton one time and he said, going is half the fun. It was like you just going. Like, are you a believer in that? Is there anything just as good old fashioned fun as going to a tractor pull?
What, you're pulling for 15 seconds?
Yeah, I have always said, you pullers are the crazy. At least I get to do my job for 4.5 hours or whatever.
Right.
You guys will travel for forever and
for a 15-second ride.
But it's so much more than that too. Like everyone always says, we're only out there for 15 seconds. But if you really watch, I bet if you put a GoPro on you start getting in the mindset. The puller starts getting in the mindset from the time you scale to staging to pulling and then reading your data. How much happens just at the pull alone? Don't even tell me about the shop time and the travel time. How much behind the scene preparation happens from the minute you get to the pull? I mean, you're doing stuff for a couple hours, really.
Mm-hmm. Usually there again, I'm working in the shop on somebody's stuff. So then if I do get away to the pull, I'm charging the battery and putting fuel in and stuff that I should have done at the shop, but didn't get it done. So yeah, we're working the tractor over and looking at it and getting ready to go, moving weights around. It's nonstop. So
at what point does a puller kind of start getting locked in? Like, let's say you guys are third class. At what point will you start saying, okay, it's time to put the fire suit on, it's time to get across the scale, and kind of getting in that mindset? Will you wait until second class is kind of halfway over, or are you kind of locked in earlier than that?
It depends on the lineup at the scale. Say we're third class, it's great if we can get everybody across and you can be lined up with the Wisner where you can line up in the trees, and then you can go ahead and go up and watch. That's a big thing. You can go watch that track, if you're lined up.
Sure.
The thing the part that ain't no good is when you're scaling one class ahead of time, you haven't got to look at the track at all. You're sitting on the scale, that gets you more flustered than anything. All of a sudden you're drug up there and it's like, oh, it's time to pull. So you're putting your stuff on. Well, I haven't even looked at the track. I don't know if I need to move a weight. I don't know what gear, you don't know nothing about it. You just kind of wing it. Sometimes that's a blessing because I can screw up less then, but
you can. I've wondered this too. How many times, like an athlete, can you talk yourself out of a good plan? Can a puller kind of sit there and over tweak and overthink? And, sometimes maybe it just needs to be tighten the chain, left foot up, right hand down, and just guide that tractor out the back door.
Well, you look at the first part of my season, I didn't do very well because I overthought too much stuff. Second half, I just kind of said, the heck with it. We're just going to do our thing. And it worked out. I mean, the tractor ran great. Second half.
It really did. It really
finishes.
Several good passes.
I quit overthinking. That's the problem. Is I sit there and I run this through my head, and I've had too many other guys on the dyno, and I know what I need to do to beat them, but I'm not there. I don't have quite the setup all them other guys do. So I feel I'm underpowered, and then I get to thinking that, and I just need to not think and just tighten the chain and go. Wisner this year when Seth got hurt and the ambulance was going and I'm sitting there with the chain tight and my flagman disappeared, and I'm kind of like, well, am I sitting here a while? Should I shut off? What's going on? And then all of a sudden somebody comes up and tells me to go. And I'm like, really? I have no flagman, so I'm supposed to go. So I was flustered as all get out there. So, and I didn't end up very well there either. So that didn't help. When you sit there, I'm better off. You tighten the chain and you go. You don't have
that's like, they talk in football, like icing the kicker. And that's, there are pullers. I've seen pullers get frustrated. Don't leave me on the line when I'm locked in. That's a long time to talk yourself out of a plan. Got some interesting comments here. So Chris Kilbarger is coming back in. He was asking you earlier about, the original Pride of the Farm. He said that he was thinking of the Marshall Meyer 1066 sheet metal super stock. So he was thinking of a different one out there.
I've seen that one, yep.
Now, this one I really want to hear about. Tristan Myers says, what about the new 4-1 coming out next year? Something, is this an inside joke, or do we have
it must be. I haven't heard that. I don't know if I don't know.
Oh, I
Sounds
thought
like
he
a
was
good idea, but
okay, you're all right. I'm gonna leave it at that. Either you're keeping something under lock and key, or we truly know nothing right here. Either way, tune into 2026 to find out.
The super farm class for us, it's so close for all our hooks. We kind of get spoiled as a class. We don't have to go much over 3 hours from home. And it's a nice class because you don't have to work on it a lot, and I don't have a lot of time. So I slam in the trailer and I shut the doors and I go to work all week and get in the truck and go for next week. So it's tough to leave this class, but I don't know. 4-1 would be fun. 5-0 Pro would be fun. I got to get the wife.
Tristan Myers says the 4-1 with the hired driver.
I think he wants to drive something.
Hey, there, yeah. Hey, that's between you guys. I'm going to stay out of it. Your message to the fans. This always, we love hearing about what the pullers want to say to the fans. Thanks for coming out and supporting us. Without the fans, we have nothing. One thing we talked a lot about these past couple of days at our leadership meeting, and one thing that was evident to me from day one at the Outlaws, at the end of the day, we're in the entertainment business. It's a competition. You guys want to win. The rules are there. We have to do right by the pullers, but also at the end of the day, we're putting on a show. I spent a lot of time going to NTPA pulls, PPL pulls, all over different types of pulls when I was growing up as a kid. The amount of fans in the stands that I see consistently in Nebraska, in Southwest Iowa, at the Outlaw venues, it's amazing. The Outlaws, I think, have truly some of the best fans out there. And a lot of these pulls, and you kind of talked about it, they're not that far away. We'll pull in Scribner, and then we'll pull in in Wisner, and then we'll pull in West Point, and
Wayne.
These towns aren't that far away, Wayne, and they're packed, every single place. So I just love that you acknowledge that, thanks to the fans out there and just even the fans watching tonight. You guys are awesome. Who do you need to thank? Who do you need to give a shout out to before I let you go here this evening?
There's a lot of people that help, behind the scenes. My my wife, as she's commenting.
Yeah, there you go. See, spot on.
The boys, they're terrors, but they come along and they have fun. My mother and father-in-law, they're great. They help out a lot. Fair Valley Hearts, they're sponsors, and then we get a lot of parts through them guys. Harry's Heads, the list goes on.
Yep, no doubt about it. Well, Steve, good job this season. I think you finished 9th in points, but kind of like you talked about, the second half of the season, things were really rocking and rolling. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for all you do at your shop to keep the pullers rocking and rolling as well. 2026 would be the 10th year anniversary of your last points championship. So kind of sounds like as good a time as any.
We might have to. We have a 4-month-old and a 2.5-year-old. So we didn't know how well the 4-month-old was going to travel this year. So we made it a point to hit the whole Ganix ones. Kind of run that. We didn't travel real far with him. Turns out he travels like a champ. So we could have went to all of them. But next year we'll see. They'll be a little older and we can get a little further.
Perfect. Well, we appreciate you doing this. And folks, like always, to all our pullers watching, we want to feature all you guys out there. When the Smoke Clears is just a program that we do that kind of just peels back the curtain and lets the fans see exactly who these guys are. Steve, thanks for coming on tonight. Good luck in 2026.
Yep, thanks.
Folks, we're way late tonight. Ron said, hey, go run the show by yourself. If you don't get to an hour, that's fine. I told him, I said, hey, I'm Mike and I like to talk. Anybody who knows me knows I like to talk. We're at an hour and a half. Everybody, thanks for watching this evening. Had a lot of awesome guests. Talked to John Naragon about his points championship this evening. Talked to Kyle Lay about their final pull at the NSPA division. And sitting there hanging out with Steve Cavan. Super cool dude. Your When the Smoke Clears featured puller for the Outlaws in the Super Farm class. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. Have an excellent night.